Hey guys, this is Dr. Aeronautics. Um, in the process of some testing, I think we're ready to try out train simulator recording now. I'm gonna start at Washington and take a take an Acela northbound, and we'll see how far we get. If you guys remember the stock Microsoft train simulator from 2002, one of the routes was on there was the Northeast Corridor route, and basically what you got was from, and I think this route is so big that I can't really put the names on because it overloads the system. But basically, you got everything from Washington Union Station to Philadelphia 30th Street Station. So that's this yard here, and then following the easternmost route up here to Philadelphia 30th Street, which is right here. If you remember in the stock version of Train Simulator, for the longest time, there were buffers right here, and that was the end of the line for you. So just to give you guys an idea of how big this route is, um, the second thing that they did to go from NEC, I think it was version 2 to version 4, they added the CSX line, the Philadelphia sub to Baltimore, and the Capital sub from there to Washington, effectively doubling the length of the route. But I'm not done yet! So then they added actually down here, they added the Alexandria extension. So now you can drive the freight trains off of the main line. Let me see. This is the I can't remember what this segment branching off the Capitol sub is, but anyway, you can drive things down to the Potomac Yard area, which is pretty cool. So then they added a very incorrect version of the Washington Metro Rail WMATA, but I mean, what are you going to expect for a rail train simulator? Basically, what they did is they combined the red line um, with the orange line. So you have Judiciary Square and Washington from the Union Station from the red line, and then you have a horribly, horribly placed Federal Center, Capitol South, Eastern Market. Wow, all of these are off. Potomac Avenue from the orange line. Well, technically it's orange and blue and silver. Um, Stadium Armory is in the right position, and then all of these other stations are correct. And this section of the line was included in the default Microsoft Train Simulator, but there was no way to reach the line. Okay, so then we skip back up here, and then they added the Baltimore Light Rail. So now we've got everything from Glen Burnie and BWI. Now this is horribly out of scale, but hey, it's drivable. All the way up to, I think, Woodbury. It does not connect with Penn Station, unfortunately. But I think this is way off if you know this. Yeah, up to Woodbury. So there's a good portion of the line. Then they added a bunch of dockyards here to go along with the Howard Street Tunnel, which is somewhere through here. I think if I do platform, no, not platform names. It's siding names, I think. Yeah, there we go. So there's the Howard Street Tunnel. And there's somewhere down here is Bailey's Y, which is a great place to watch train spotting. There it is. Great place to watch trains. So let's take a look at the other areas further north. So the next major thing that's added, I'm heading northeastwards, by the way. This isn't necessarily the order that things were added, but it's the order going northeast so that I can do this in an organized fashion. So the entire Port Road sub, which runs basically from Perryville, which is where the confluence of the Susquehanna River flows into the Chesapeake Bay, all the way up to its terminus in Marysville, Pennsylvania. And there's a lot more things over here that we're going to get into. Okay. So they went to town in Philadelphia. We have so many SEPTA lines. It is really unbelievable. So this one runs up to Doylestown. This one was up to Warminster. This one to West Trenton. And there are beltways and belts and sidings and all sorts of crazy stuff. So here's Philadelphia 30th Street. This is Suburban Station. One of these is, or no, maybe that's Suburban. No, that's the Reading Terminal. And then somewhere over here is, yeah, right here is Camden. So to give you a perspective, here's Philadelphia and here's Camden. This is the main NEC line coming through here, Frankfort Junction, and then, yeah, basically Philadelphia has been turned into train world. So the Delaware Bridge is right here. You go through shore interlocking, and then you're in New Jersey. So this is Camden, and then you have, I think it's Vernon, Mount Vernon or Vernon, one of the two. And then you have the entire Atlantic City line running down through Egg Harbor City, Abscon, and Atlantic City. And they have Winslow Junction here. So now here's what you guys have been waiting for. NEC, Zoo Frankfort Junction, New Brunswick, Newark, and New York City. So now we've got, and actually Sunnyside Yard. So now we've got the entire NEC from Sunnyside Yard to DC. So now you can do a entire Acela run or Northeast Regional running between Washington and New York. Included also around here are a few yards, possibly Hoboken. There's a Jersey City yard here. The PATH train, I think some of the PATH train is included here as well. And then we've got New Jersey Transit lines out the wazoo. I don't know what some of these are. Now, in here is going to be the Bayhead Long Branch line running through here out to Red Bank, and then, Long Branch and then Bayhead down here. I don't know what this train route is, but here that one is. And then there's a Southern Secondary, which connects from Red Bank, goes through the woods down to Winslow Junction. But I'm not done yet. So from Philadelphia, you have the Harrisburg Main Line, and then you have it splitting up into at Glen. One of these goes to Columbia. Another one goes through Lancaster into Harrisburg. So here's Harrisburg, and it keeps going west to Altoona, and it keeps going west all the way out to Pittsburgh. And this is basically the extent of the line in a nutshell, all right? So let's zoom out and see the entire thing now, right? So from there are doubled up lines here, right? So what you got in the original Microsoft Train Simulator is one of the two lines starting from where my cursor is here to here. That's it. Now take a look at how much has been extended. I basically added up the main route mileage, and it's now over 1,000 miles. So we're going from 135 miles to over 1,000 miles. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. The only disadvantage with the route is apparently it's so large that when night falls, it crashes the game. The developers actually said, we're not actually sure whether or not it's theoretically possible for the system to run during the night. And, well, myself, even on my beefy computer, had issues. Now, it was not related to the amount of memory that I had. And the amount of memory that it takes to play this route at highest graphics settings is immense for a 2002 game. It is pretty insane. In the Newark areas and North Philadelphia, um, my computer during the autumn fog sessions can crawl into the teens. It is incredible how much memory this route takes to run if you want to set it at the highest graphics setting. Also, you get the Appalachian Mountains, so you might remember the old Northeast Corridor route. Basically ran along the bays and rivers, so you didn't get any mountains. And this route goes over the Eastern Divide, so this is the halfway point right here between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So if I recall correctly, this is near Denholm. So this is in the Ridge and Valley province of the Appalachians. I think this was also taken on one of my previous computers because the view settings are not out to 2 kilometers, which is the maximum view setting. I think I had it set to 1,000 kilometers here because this might have been my previous computer. And then the game crashed shortly after this because you can see it's nightfall. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun times with this. Now, unfortunately, one thing that I found out with Train Simulator is because of such an old game it is, Bandicam will not record it with the sound audio. And I tried, and it just won't work. So what I'm going to have to do is record the videos first, and then we'll have the native in-game sound, and then I'm going to have to voice it over later. So hopefully if I do it right, you won't notice a difference. It's just I'm going to have to go through my videos twice, which is going to obviously cut down on the amount that I can produce. Until I feel like spending $37 on fraps. So yeah, with that being stated, I think we have all the information we need. Let's go ahead and get started on this fantastic journey and see how far we can get. All right, here we are in the train. So departure is 12 o'clock, so we spent absolutely no time in getting on our way. So put the reverser forward, release the brakes, turn the headlights on, start up the bell, and make a nice and easy trip out of here. So the speed limit coming out of Union Station is 15 miles per hour, and it's that way until we reach the H signal bridge, which is what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to get at a view of where, there it is, K Tower is. Determine the signal bridge I can speed up to. And trains pull out of Union Station like this pretty slow. The frogs that they have for the switching movements are, I think, well over 110 years old now. I think it was built in 1903, so yeah, 114-year-old switches, you got to take it slow. So we're passing under signal bridge H right now, so as soon as, I believe it's named for the H Street above it, and then here the speed limit goes up to 20 miles an hour. On the extreme left is the Metro Rail red line, but it's kind of really impossible to see from the angle that we're facing right now. In modern times, there's only 7 tracks, including the metro tracks. Okay, so just overhead is Signal Bridge J, and that's where the speed limit goes from 20 to 45. So we'll be accelerating momentarily. Up ahead is, I believe they call that C interlocking. And we actually have to blow the horn for this one. This is passing under New York Avenue, US Route 50, and the Metropolitan sub and the Brunswick line split off here. So the speed limit has now increased to 45 miles per hour. So we're not going to be following the speed limits on the left side of the screen because those are set for 1950. So things are a little bit different now. Pretty soon we'll be reaching the bridge where we can accelerate to 85. So on our left is the Ivy City Maintenance Facility. That's where the Acela Expresses are maintained and fixed and etc. Along with coach storage yards for VRE and Amtrak. And then just on the left is the CSX Capital sub, which in the original train simulator didn't exist, but in this one it does. Alright, so the speed limit is increasing to 85 miles per hour now. And at this point, the Capital sub and the NEC split off. So the Capital sub obviously goes to the left. Maybe we'll drive that sometime. And the NEC goes to the right. So now we're passing into Northeast Washington. And we'll be accelerating to 85. And so I believe in kilometers per hour that would be 135 for anybody who's curious. So we'll be passing under the CSX Alexandria extension pretty soon. By the way, the station name up in the sky, Potomac Avenue, that is horribly misspelled. And then at milepost 133, you'll have to forgive Train Simulator because the mileposts are a little bit off from what they are in real life. We'll be able to go 125. But I don't think we'll be able to reach that before we have to slow down for the next speed limit, which is our first decrease in speed limit on basically the entire line. Okay, so speed limit's now 125, so we're going to be seeing a overspeed warning momentarily, but we can ignore that because those are for the 1950 speed limits. So now through 100 miles per hour, there's a curve coming up which is 100 miles an hour, so we'll be slowing down for that. That's this one that we're coming into right now. And now we're coming up to the CSX Landover sub along with the Metro Rail Orange line. At this point, it's only the Orange line. The catenary that you see on the right side, that's over the Metro Rail, and that's incorrect. They have a third rail. So the trains have to blow their horn for the Landover interlocking, which we're passing through right now. And now we'll be able to go up to 120 until we reach milepost 125. Past the Landover Metro Rail station. And now we're going to pass under US Route 50 again. It's no longer and here's the new Carrollton Mark Station. It's no longer New York Avenue. It's a highway at that point. And now we're passing under the Capitol Beltway, which is I-495. And momentarily we'll be coming up to the Seabrook Mark Station. I believe the NORAC rules say that you only have to let your bell off while you're passing a platform that's directly on your track. So we didn't have to do it for the Seabrook platform, and there's no crosswalks. There's a tunnel. There's a pedestrian tunnel underneath the station, so we don't have to do anything. So now the speed limit has increased to 125, and we'll be good to do this until we reach milepost 106. Passing under Maryland Route 193. And now we're approaching the Buoy Y, which is the transfer point for the Pope's Creek Secondary for coal trains. Only a little portion of the line is simulated, and there's a number of inconsistencies with this area. There's way more industries than there were ever on that line. And now we're coming up to the Bowie State Mark Station. Now, this is actually incorrectly placed. The station was never here. It was actually used to be at the Y before that bridge that we last passed under, and right now it's on this curve right exactly here as I speak. So that's a little bit misplaced. Now we're coming up to the Patuxent River. So in my previous video, which is one of my most successful videos, recorded once and then quit, this is as far up as I got, so you guys are going to get to see new territory. I believe the Patuxent River is the largest river in terms of volume that we're going to cross between here and the Susquehanna, which is surprising given the fact that it's only a few hundred feet wide at this point, and we're going to pass over some other bridges that are nearly a mile wide, but they don't carry as much water. It's just all sitting still in an estuary. It's not actually flowing at that point. Okay, so with just crossing the Little Patuxent River, now we'll be in Odenton soon. And Odenton used to be a really big railroad junction. This is, again, 1950, so there's a lot of things that don't exist anymore that used to exist. That was a small creek we just passed over, Stony Run. So most of the yard work here is gone now, but there's a little bit left. The large industries are gone. I can tell you this largest building that we're coming up on the right, that is definitely gone. I've never seen a building that large in Odenton. here is the Odenton Mark Station. There is no pedestrian overpass. It's a tunnel, unless things have changed. Well, that was a fail. It's a really good place to get some trackside views. I should take this opportunity to mention now that we had a few hiccups in the recording. Basically, I was starting to record, and every once in a while, because of the Windows 7 glitches, MSTS crashes every so often. And, well, when it crashes and I'm recording, the recorded video can't kill itself cleanly, so it gets corrupted. And then the recorded video essentially gets lost because I don't know how to uncorrupt the video, go in there and work it line by line. So it's kind of for a loss. So there's going to be two gaps in this video. One is going to be leaving Baltimore from Penn Station, and the other one is going to be just before Wilmington. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I don't think we ever made it into Wilmington, but we'll see. There's going to be some gaps coming up. Okay, so at milepost between 107 and 106, there's a 105 mile per hour curve, so we're going to have to start thinking about slowing down for that pretty soon. Starting to get close to BWI Airport. I think right now we're in Harmons. Or no, it's Severn. I believe Harmons is north of the airport. Alright, so we're going to start slowing down for the 105 now. And we're coming up to the BWI Airport station, so the trains going to BWI Airport would use the interlocking connector that we just passed. Some Acela trains stop at BWI Airport, some don't. We happen to be one that doesn't. And that pedestrian overpass is real. So we are now good for, well, at milepost 107 we changed to 110. So we're going to be doing 110 from here on out, and next curve we got to worry about is at 101. So we just passed under Maryland Route 295, which is a highway. It's, I believe, the BW Parkway, Baltimore Washington Parkway. Pretty soon we'll be coming up to the largest river between the Patuxent and the Susquehanna, which is the Patapsco. This is the main river that fills the harbor in Baltimore, that all of the deep water ships are able to stay at. It's one of the three main rivers flowing in. There is Patapsco, Gwynns Falls, and Jones Falls. And if we're going on the CSX line, we should be able to see Jones Falls, but we won't be able to see it this time. So just like the Patuxent, the Patapsco is really thin here. It's just 100 feet wide or so. And we're coming into Halethorpe now. So here's the Halethorpe MARC station. This is incorrect. There is actually a pedestrian bridge over the tracks. So we have the 105 mile per hour curve coming up. And then very soon after that, we're allowed to go back up to 110, but then there's a 75 mile per hour zone starting at milepost 100. So we're gonna have to start slowing down for that pretty soon. Now, some of these industries that are here among the large industrial buildings don't exist anymore. It's very flat. There's not many buildings really higher than 3 stories. Okay, so we're now in the 75 mile per hour zone. And then the speed limits are going to start changing pretty fast because we're coming into Baltimore. I overbrake just a little bit there. And now we're coming up into the West Baltimore MARC station. We're going to have to start thinking about a 50 mile per hour zone just south of Bridge Interlocking. So here's the West Baltimore MARC station, and I believe this one is correct. So we're quickly coming up to the 50. It's going to add more brakes here. All right. So now we're still in a 75 mile per hour zone, but there's a 40 mile per hour curve coming up just after this curve ends. So we won't be able to really accelerate much. In fact, we're going to have to start slowing down now. So this is the 40, and then we'll be coming into Fulton Interlocking, and then between there and Charles Interlocking, we'll have to do 30. We're going to pass through the B&P tunnel. That tunnel's 150 years old. It was built before the Civil War, and the Acelas, which were built after 2000, still use it, which is atrocious. I need to get that terrain glitch fixed on the bridge that we just passed. So now we're entering the B&P tunnel, going under portions of downtown Baltimore. This tunnel, because it was built before the Civil War, is so tight that I've train spotted watching trains come out of here before. It's like watching a pair of hydraulics. There is no room between the train and the side of the tunnel. If the doors open, you probably would not even be able to fit out between the train and the wall to get like onto the roof or something. So because of that, they actually drilled rescue holes through. There are 2 rescue holes, and you can see these on Google Earth if you look at them. They're both mid-tunnel, and they're equally spaced in case you need rescue, just because of how tight it is. So here's the first one, and these have names, but I forget what they're named. Yeah, so one of them is at the corner, or it's between Pennsylvania and Fremont Avenue, and just northwest of Pitcher Street in Baltimore. And then we're going to come to the second one, and that's between Mount Royal Avenue and John Street, which is just south of North Avenue. And we'll be coming into Baltimore Penn Station on track 4, which has a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, so we'll start slowing down for that when we come out of the tunnel here. Alright, so we're arriving out of the B&P tunnel now into downtown Baltimore. We'll slow down now for the 15. Now that traffic out there on the highway is Interstate 83. And then also the light rail over here would come down between that bridge and go right alongside the platform, which I had mentioned earlier is not really modeled, so it's not here. So we're gonna make a stop at Penn Station here. We're about 3.5, a little bit more than that. We're about 5 minutes early. And I stayed, a little bit of sound glitches there. I stayed and then I left. And then it decided to crash the game going out of Baltimore. And I lost the video recording due to corruption. So I'm gonna have to remember when it corrupts, you gotta save the videos. Welcome back. We've basically skipped all of coming out of Baltimore because the game crashed and brought the recording down with it, corrupted it and everything. So we're approaching the Gunpowder River now. We had gotten up to 125 and now we just got an approach limited signal. So I'm making my way down to 45. Per NORAC rules, the approach limited signal is when you come upon it, you reduce speed to limited speed upon going under the signal, which is 45 is limited speed. So you don't have to be down to limited speed by the time you reach the signal. It's only when you reach the approach medium. So now, even though the cab speed indicator indicates that we're green and get to go the maximum authorized speed, that's not the case. Train Simulator has some issues in displaying some aspects that I'll talk about when we get up to there. So the proper thing to do in real life would be just to hold 45 miles an hour for the time being. The speed limit surrounding us is 125, but we can't do that here. There's some wheat fields for you, so it's pretty quick. 15 miles later and we're already in pretty rural areas. This area is not very built up, still looks like that today. Alright, so that signal above us was a limited clear. So basically, we proceed at limited speed until the entire train is clear the interlocking. So we're going to maintain 45 for the time being. And now we're going to go out over the Gunpowder River, which looks like a much bigger river, but it's actually it's slightly smaller than the Patapsco in terms of flow volume. Now that ship would not be out there. The Gunpowder River is a very, very shallow river. It's between 5 and 10 feet. So now that ship could be further out if it were in the Chesapeake Bay, but you wouldn't be able to see it because we're quite some distance from the bay, just about 6 miles or so. So now, having cleared the interlocking, we're accelerating to 115. There is a curve here for 115. Now, we'll probably never make that in time, so we can just go ahead and target 125 miles an hour. So to the right of us now is Aberdeen Proving Ground. So this is a secret military area, kind of like the Area 51 of the East. You know, you're not supposed to like hear about stuff like coming out of there. I've heard reports of like UFOs and aircraft tanks just appearing on people's properties. In fact, I found one once. So yeah, it's quite an interesting area. It's a very large area too. It's going to cover basically everything between here and Aberdeen. So we're passing under Magnolia Road right now, Maryland 152, and back up to 125. Here is the Edgewood Mark Station. And pretty soon we'll be passing over the Bush River. Bush River is slightly wider than the Gunpowder, but it's a lot smaller of a river. It's really small. It's the only reason it's called a river is because of how wide the area is. It's more of like a creek. It kind of disappears as soon as you get away from the tidal portions. And we won't be able to see the Chesapeake Bay from here either, but we will when we cross the Susquehanna River, because that's where the two meet, essentially right under the bridge. There's no interlocking here, so we'll be able to, we won't have to move over, we'll be able to just race across it at 125. Yeah, and that steamer would not be there. Bush River is very shallow, just about 5 feet. You could not run a ship that large up the Bush River. That's why the bridge is so low to the water too. You'll know when we get to the Susquehanna, it's got a swing bridge on it because it's actually deep enough for ships to go through there. Ranges in depth anywhere between 20 and 80 feet. There's like a hole near Perryville that's like 90 or 100, I think. So we are good to cruise at 125 until we reach Grace Interlocking, which is just south of the bridge. And then there's a 105 mile per hour curve there. And then a little ways after that is the Susquehanna River Bridge, and we'll have to do, that's a 90 mile per hour speed limit because of the, I don't think the swing is in operation anymore, but the infrastructure is still there, so you still have to slow down for it. And yes, we're still passing by Aberdeen Proving Ground. It's that big. Some areas of Maryland are quite rural, like this area. Just because there's no big cities around and the area is not suitable for development. It's too swampy. Good for farming though. So we're coming into Aberdeen now. This is an actual Amtrak station. Some of the lower speed Amtrak trains like the Vermonter will stop here. Now we're passing under Maryland Route 22. So pretty soon we're coming into, we'll be coming into Habit of Grace. Every time I see that oak interlocking, I think of Professor Oak from Pokemon. I don't know why, but it just pops into my head. I would think of an oak tree, but no. Alright, so that 105 is just north of Grace interlocking, which I think we're about to come up to. So we'll be doing, there it is. Be doing 105. And then pretty soon we'll have to slow down for 90. It's 90 all the way across the Susquehanna River Bridge. Alright, so through Grace interlocking, let's start slowing down for the 90 now. And we'll blow our horn for the Susquehanna River Bridge. So the Susquehanna River is the largest river on the East Coast. It's approximately 450 miles long, so it's the longest and largest river in the United States that flows into the Atlantic Ocean. And you can see with the amount of bridges that go across there. You can travel up to 80 miles on it on the Port Road, which we're coming up to the Y right now on the left. And this is the Perryville MARC station. This is the last MARC station on the Penn line. So that's it for MARC. And now speed limit's 110 until we get to Prince interlocking. The Susquehanna River is the whole reason the Chesapeake Bay exists. It's actually an inundation due to sea level rise of the Susquehanna River Valley. It's that big. And it used to be bigger when 10,000 years ago when the ice sheets drained. They all drained through the Susquehanna. So it got pretty big. It's also one of the oldest rivers in the world. I think it ranks in the top 4. It might be the second oldest, behind the ironically named New River, which is the oldest river on Earth. Okay, so at Prince interlocking, let me see, there's a curve. Yeah, this curve is 110. And we're good until milepost 54 to go 125. So the Susquehanna River is actually so old that it cuts through the Appalachian Mountains, because as they were rising up, the river was like, nope, just kept on washing it out. So as a result, you find the river just slicing through mountains like it's nothing. If I do sea to summit, which is a route from, it's basically would be the Atlantic City route all the way up to Gallatin, which is the eastern divide at 2,200 feet elevation on this railroad. It's higher than that. It's about 3,000 feet if you're going by the mountain, but we go under a tunnel, so we save about 800 feet elevation. So we're passing by the Mason-Dixon quarry now. And this is the milepost 54 curve, 120, and then there's another one at milepost 53 coming up. And then the speed limit goes back up to 125 until we get to Bacon interlocking. So we're coming up to the Northeast River now. This is one of the 3 rivers that flow into the head of the bay. Again, the Northeast River, very tiny river. We just went over basically all of it. So, well, there's 2. There's the little Northeast and then the Northeast. And then there's the town of Northeast, which we're entering right now. Yeah, it's a tiny little river. Alright, so we're in Northeast, just passed under Maryland 272. At milepost 50, there's a 105 mile an hour speed limit here. And then back up to 125 until we get to Raggan Interlocking, which is in Delaware. So we're good. There are long-term plans to upgrade the catenary here to be constant tension, because the stretches of track in this area are so rural and so straight that if the catenary were updated, the Acela could do 160 through here, even faster than through Attleboro, Massachusetts. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. Supposedly that might happen when they update the Acela consist with the new Acela Liberty train sets. And now we're coming up to Little Elk Creek and Big Elk Creek. These come together to form the Elk River, and the Elk River flows into the Chesapeake Bay as one of the 3 rivers that flow into the head. Portions of it are also used for the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, which enables freight to pass between Philadelphia and Baltimore without having to go all the way down to Virginia Beach to get out of the Chesapeake Bay first. It's also part of the Intracoastal Waterway. Alright, so we're coming into Elkton, Maryland now. So this is the last city in Maryland, or town in Maryland, if you want to call it that. And that was the crash. So now we are in Delaware, and we're coming into, we're at Raggan Interlocking right now, so the speed limit becomes 110 after this. So yeah, you just missed basically Newark, and I said that right, it's Newark, Delaware. The difference between Newark, Delaware, and Newark, New Jersey is how you pronounce it. So if I say Newark, it means Delaware, and if I say Newark, it means New Jersey. Don't get that wrong, or you will piss off the Jersey people like crazy. Alright, so we're 110, coming down to a 45 mile an hour curve soon, so I'm going to start decelerating for that. There are plans to bring Mark north to Elkton and SEPTA south to from Newark to Elkton to create a commuter rail link. And if they do that, you'll be able to ride a commuter train, or a combination of commuter trains from Fredericksburg, Virginia, all the way up to New Haven, Connecticut. We're a little ways out from the 45 right now. Wilmington's a really cool place for train industries. There's a bunch of like tracks just randomly snaking around in the surrounding areas. Alright, so this I believe is I-95. that we're going under. And off to the left, there's a really nice meat warehouse that's full of like the best deli meats. So I always go there whenever I'm in town. Somewhere down there in one of those warehouses. Alright, so here is the 45, and then just after this we're coming into downtown Wilmington now. So we'll be making our final station stop, and that'll be it. And then just after Wilmington, yeah, just after Wilmington it goes down to 30 for the speed limit. Anyway, we're here. Alright, well I hope you guys enjoyed that. If so, let me know and I'll make more videos. Like I said, right now I'm kind of constrained to doing voiceovers until I get a software that's compatible with MSTS better. I also have to remember to change my saving periodicity to resetting the... I need to reset the video every time I save the game, because when the game crashes, so does my video. So I'm just going to have to remember that. Alright, so setting the brake to continuous service. Turn the headlights off and putting the reverser back to neutral. And then we'll be done. So this is Wilmington, Delaware. Wilmington is Delaware's largest city. So welcome to that. And yeah, I will see you guys for the next adventure. This is Dr. Aeronautics out. Bye-bye.